The Alcobaça Formation. The Lusitanian Basin, which is located in Portugal, lies between the mainland and continental shelf off the west-central coast. It is spread across 20,000 square kilometers, or 7,700 square miles, from Porto in the north to Lisbon in the south. The Lusitanian Basin is a result of one of the riftings that led to the opening of the North Atlantic Ocean and the breakup of Iberia and Canada. Two-phase riftings occurred in the late Triassic to early Jurassic, and then again in the late Jurassic. These extensional tectonics ended during the early Cretaceous. In the center of the Lusitanian Basin, there is a formerly established Alcobaça Formation. The Kimmeridgian Alcobaça Formation unit lies between basinal deposits of the Abadia Formation and fluvial terrestrial strata of the Lorena Formation. This geological unit's age is dated to the Kimmeridgian stage of the late Jurassic and is based on ammonites, ostracods, and strontium-stable isotopes. Fossils are well preserved, and many specimens were collected from the now abandoned and flooded Camadas de Guimarota coal mine. Although ostracods and foraminifera are common, ammonites are very rare. The Alcobaça Formation environments are varied and include fluvial and coastal plain settings to minimal marine lagoons and coastal embayments, coastal plains with rivers, lakes, playas, or shallow waters. Macrofauna is usually dominated by bivalves. There were some patchy coral and calcareous sponge reefs and meadows, whereas oysters occurred in saline environments at several levels. The area was a home to many mammals living in the late Jurassic. Dinosaur fossils found in the Alcobaça Formation include ornithischians such as Dacentrurus, Saurosuchians, Aviatyrannis, Lusotitan, and Dinheirosaurus. Also, dinosaur eggs have been geographically located in the Lisbon district. So were the dinosaur tracks. Allosaurus. The first Allosaurus fossil is known since its discovery in 1869 in the United States, near Granby, in Colorado. It was described as a petrified horsehoof. However, in 1877, the American paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh re-examined the fossil and described it as a vertebra from a tailbone belonging to the unknown dinosaur genus. He eventually named it Allosaurus, meaning different lizard or strange lizard, as these vertebrae were very different from those of other dinosaurs. But Allosaurus was not only known from North America. So far, there are a minimum of 3 Allosaurus specimens known from Portugal. At least 2 were found at Andres, near Pombal, and another at a site in Cambelas, near Torres Verde. First reports of a partial skeleton, including a quadrate, vertebra, ribs, gastralia, chevrons, part of the hips, and hind limbs, were published in 1999. This specimen was assigned to Allosaurus fragilis. The second discovery of a partial skull and neck near Lorena, of the Lorena and Alcobaça formations, were described as new, and the species Allosaurus europaeus by Octavio Mateus and colleagues in 2006. Usually, Allosaurus would have reached lengths of up to 12 meters or 38 feet and weighed as much as 1.4 tons. This animal is known to have been the biggest meat-eating dinosaur in North America during the late Jurassic period. It walked on 2 powerful hind legs. The arms were short and had 3-fingered hands with 15-centimeter long claws. Its head would have been about 90 centimeters or 3 feet long. This predator had powerful jaws that could crush bones and tear flesh with its serrated teeth. The teeth were between 2 and 4 inches long. Portuguese Allosaurus remains that were found at Andres have been estimated at around 7 to 8 meters long and up to 2 meters high from the ground to the pelvic girdle. It is thought that it would have weighed around 1 ton. Portugal's National Museum of Natural History now has one of the best and most important collections of dinosaur skull bones in Europe. The Allosaurus was at the top of the food chain and is thought to have fed on large plant-eating dinosaurs like Stegosaurus and other sauropods. Scientists measured the ratio of its brain to the body mass and believed that Allosaurus possessed a high intelligence relative to other dinosaurs. At the Andreas site were also discovered fossilized remains of crocodiles, rare invertebrates, and large quantities of mollusks and a substantial amount of petrified vegetation. Aviatyrannis. In the year 2000, Oliver Walter Misha Rahut reported the find of a partial pelvis, including a right ilium, a right ischium, and 16 teeth in the lignite brown coal mine of Guimarães, near Leiria, Portugal. The bones came from a layer of the Alcobaça Formation dating from the early Kimmeridgian, about 155 million years old. First, Rahut believed that the remains belonged to a tyrannosaurid similar to that of Stegosaurus from North America. However, he found slight differences between both specimens and classified the fossil in 2003 as Aviatyrannis, a separate genus. He placed this dinosaur in the carnivorous Tyrannosauridae family. Rahut described this theropod as the type species Aviatyrannis jurassica, meaning the tyrant's grandmother from the Jurassic. The generic name is derived from the Latin avia, or grandmother, and tyrannis, or tyrant, with the specific name being Jurassic. It is thought that Aviatyrannis lived in the Oxfordian to Tithonian stages of the late Jurassic period. Other early tyrannosauroids were rather small in size. Aviatyrannis was also a rather small bipedal predator, with an estimated length of 1 meter or 3.3 feet, and its base mass at 4 kilograms, or only 2.2 pounds. It was suggested that the holotype possibly belongs to a Stegosaurus juvenile. However, Rahut insisted that some Stegosaurus specimens may actually belong to Aviatyrannis. This dinosaur is one of the oldest tyrannosaurids ever found. Together with other dinosaurs discovered in Portugal, Aviatyrannis fossils prove that the early Tyrannosaurus found their way to Europe, probably from North America. Stegosaurus. Although Stegosaurus is a species typical for the western United States, its remains have also been found in Portugal in 2006. It was the first stegosaur fossil found in Europe. The specimen was found during excavations to build a motorway in Casanovo, near Batalha, north of Lisbon. The skeleton was incomplete and included part of the spinal column, dorsal plates, bones, including the thigh bone and a tooth. It is possible that more fossil remains are still to be uncovered. The find is evidence that the genus Stegosaur lived outside of America. Scientists believe that a corridor between Newfoundland and Europe existed at this time. The Stegosaurs roamed the Earth between 155 and 150 million years ago, during the Upper Jurassic period in the Kimmeridgian to early Tithonian stages. Othniel Charles Marsh named the species Stegosaurus ungulatus in 1879, the name meaning hoofed roof lizard. Stegosaurus is known for 2 rows of pointed plates that line its back and tail. It could possibly be synonymous with Stegosaurus sterops. The difference between them is that Stegosaurus ungulatus has longer hind limbs and more proportionally smaller pointed plates. These plates had wider bases and narrow tips, and by several small flat spine-like plates just below the spikes on the tail. It had a relatively small head and mouth. The species was a herbivore and ate a lot of plants, mainly shrubs, ferns, mosses, and other greens that grew in the area. Although the dinosaur did not have front teeth, it instead used a beak to tear off leaves and grind them with a small number of tiny cheek teeth. It is possible that Stegosaurus may have swallowed stones to help with digestion. The dinosaur walked on 4 legs and could reach vegetation that grew around 1 meter off the ground. At 9 meters, or 29.5 feet, it was the longest species within the genus Stegosaurus. A fragmentary Stegosaurus specimen discovered in Portugal was estimated at 5 meters long. Dacentrurus. According to the records, Dacentrurus was the first stegosaur ever discovered. Richard Owen found it in 1875 in the Kimmeridgian clay of England and named it Allosaurus armatus. However, the name had already been given to another animal of a crocodilian form. Therefore, Lucas renamed the genus Dacentrurus armatus in 1902. The name meaning is tail full of points. This dinosaur was a large quadrupedal herbivore, equipped with plates and spikes. The vertebrae and the hips have more advanced features than its build. It had a gut that was especially broad. The forelimbs were longer than those of other Stegosaurus, due to long lower arms. The hind limbs were short, and the animal had a lower back. This dinosaur probably had 2 rows of small plates on its neck, and 2 rows of longer spikes along its tail. The tail spike had sharp cutting edges on its front and rear side, and could have been part of a thagomizer. It hasn't been confirmed if Dacentrurus had a spike growing near the shoulder, like Kentrosaurus. Although the finds of this species were fragmentary in nature, scientists estimated Dacentrurus's size to be around 4 to 10 meters, or 13 to 33 feet long, making it one of the biggest of the stegosaurs, and weighing 8 tons. The genus was the best-known stegosaurian form from Europe. Therefore, most of stegosaur discoveries from this area were referred to Dacentrurus. There were also finds of eggs in Portugal attributed to these species. Dacentrurus was a herbivore that ate evergreen conifers, pines, and redwoods. It lived in the late Jurassic period of the Oxfordian to Kimmeridgian stages between 154 to 150 million years ago. The Brachiosauridae group is composed of large species that live from the Upper Jurassic to the Lower Cretaceous, approximately 160 to 100 million years ago, and are characterized by the presence of markedly developed forelimbs. Some of the most emblematic dinosaur species belong to this group of sauropods, such as Brachiosaurus altithorax and Giraffatitan branchi, as well as the Portuguese late Jurassic species found in Portugal's west region, Lusotitan italiensis. It is believed that Lusotitan lived in the late Jurassic period in the Tithonian stage. It was Manuel de Matos, a member of the Geological Survey of Portugal, who discovered large sauropod fossils in the Portugal Atelier site in 1947. In 1957, Albert Felix de la Parente and George Zibichevsky named the remains of a new species of Brachiosaurus, Brachiosaurus ataliensis. The specific name honors the site, Atelier. The remains have been re-examined in 2003 by Octavio Mateus and Miguel Teles Antunes, who had given it a specific genus, Lusotitan. The dinosaur keeps the same specific name and is described as Lusotitan ataliensis. The generic name is derived from Luso, the Latin name for an inhabitant of Lusitania, a region between the rivers Douro and Tagus in central Portugal and some parts of Spain. The second part of the specific name comes from the Greek word Titan, a mythological godlike giant. The fossil consisted of a partial skeleton. The skull was missing, and individual vertebrae were uncovered in several locations, although de la Parente did not assign a holotype. However, Mateus and colleagues redescribed the skeleton as a lectotype in 2013. These remains include 28 vertebrae and elements of the appendicular skeleton. Several fragments of the dinosaur remains were discovered in the backyard of the property in Pombal while the owner was carrying out construction work in 2017. The first excavation campaign started in that same year. It appeared that these fossilized bones belonged to the largest dinosaur ever found in Europe, measuring 25 meters or 82 feet in length and 12 meters or 39 feet tall. Not very often are remains found in their original anatomical position. The collected vertebrae and ribs are thought to be a possible brachiosaurid sauropod dinosaur. It is believed that this dinosaur inhabited the Iberian Peninsula around 145 million years ago. This sauropod's remains are now being studied by an international research team from the Institute Dom Luís Faculty of Sciences of the University of Lisbon, Portugal, the Evolutionary Biological Group at UNED, Madrid, Spain, and the Faculty of Fine Arts at Complutense University of Madrid in Spain, with the support of the Pombal Council. Dinheirosaurus. Mr. Carlos Nunziaseo was associated with the Musée de Lorena, found some bones in 1987. However, the excavations have taken a few years and were only completed in 1992. It was not an easy process because the fossils were located at the top of a coastal cliff. Equipment such as a bulldozer and tilt hammer were used to remove the fossils from the rocks. Once the whole work was finished with the help of a crane, the specimen was transferred in 2 blocks and shipped to Lorena. Only partial postcranial remains were recovered, including ribs, vertebrae, and limbs. Its length is estimated at 25 meters or 82 feet. Initially, the scientists thought that this dinosaur was an Apatosaurus. However, after closer examination, it was later on described as to resemble the North American Diplodocid. Therefore, it was more closely related to these sauropods. The species was named Dinheirosaurus lorenanicensis. The meaning of the name was Porto Dinheiro, lizard from Lorena. It is believed that this sauropod belonged to a group of dinosaurs which roamed the Jurassic Isles of the present Iberian Peninsula, in isolation from North America, Europe, and Africa. Most likely, these islands made the scenario for different evolution of land vertebrates in the late Jurassic and developed distinct characteristics to their relatives in other parts of the globe. Some researchers assign these dinosaurs to the Lorinosauridae family, only to be later described as a separate species closely related to Supersaurus. It is known to be one of the Portuguese diplodocid sauropods that coexisted alongside many other sauropods, ornithopods, and theropod dinosaurs. Dinheirosaurus remains were found with gastroliths, which is quite rare in sauropod sites. Scientists think that the fossil can be dated around the early Tithonian of the late Jurassic. Ceratosaurus. The discovery of the first Ceratosaurus juvenile specimen was reported in 1999. The bones were found embedded in yellow to brown fine-grained sandstones, which were deposited by rivers as floodplain deposits and belonged to the lower levels of the Porto Novo member, which is thought to be of the late Kimmeridgian age. A year after, a partial specimen was excavated and described from the Lorena and Alcobaça Formation of Portugal. In 2000 and 2006, a group of paleontologists, led by Octavio Mateus, described the find as a new specimen of Ceratosaurus. Reported fossils consisted of some elements of a single individual, such as a right femur or upper thigh bone, a left tibia or shin bone, and several isolated teeth recovered from the cliffs of the Valmiteo beach. The Portuguese specimens consisted important evidence for the knowledge of the existence of the genus outside of North America. It is now believed that Ceratosaurus crossed from what is now North America into Europe. And the records show evidence that the basal Ceratosaurian theropods existed in the late Jurassic on European landmasses. Previously, it was thought that there were differences between the Portuguese and the North American Ceratosaurus. However, it was later attributed to individual variations. After several attempts to assign the fossil remains to specific species, Elisabetta Malafair and colleagues questioned the validity of Ceratosaurus thentisulcatus, assigned the specimen to Ceratosaurus nasicornis in 2015. The early evolutionary history of Ceratosaurus is not very well understood, even though there was abundance, diversity, and wide geographical distribution of this dinosaur during the late Cretaceous period. These videos take a very long time to create. If you would like to support the channel and assist in improving it, then do please subscribe and give us a like, and consider joining our Patreon, links in the description.